like we are going to study the anatomy of second cervical vertebra, which is also known as axis. Axis is present just posterior to the atlas vertebra. So cranially it articulates with the atlas vertebra and forms atlantoaxial joint, while caudally it articulates with third cervical vertebra. We call it axis because the skull along with atlas rotates around this vertebra partially. So we call it axis. This is the cranial aspect of axis. This is the lateral surface, and this is the caudal view of axis vertebra. If we talk about the features of this vertebra, then the first structure is the body or corpus. This is the body or corpus of axis, which is long and it is also known as corpus. Then on the cranial aspect, the most prominent feature is the odontoid process, which is present in an upward projection, which is actually a upward projection of bone, and it arises from the center of axis vertebra on its cranial aspect. As this is the cranial aspect, so this odontoid process is present in the center of axis vertebra. This odontoid process is also known as dens, and it is actually a tooth-like process that is used for rotating the head back and forth. Dorsally, there is a spine, as you can see here. This is odontoid process and this is the spine. This whole is spine. So in the dorsal aspect, there is a spine that is inclined forward or cranially. As you can see here, it is inclined cranially. And this spine is extended up to the caudal end of the axis. This is the caudal end, so it is extended up to this end of the axis. And at the caudal end, it ends in a tubercle. As you can see here, this is the tubercle where the spine is ending caudally. So this is the caudal tubercle. The transverse process of axis is thin and undivided, and it is present caudo-ventrally, as this is the caudal aspect and this is the ventral view. So this transverse process is present caudo-ventrally, as you can see here. So we can say that it is also projected backwards. The foramen transversarium or transverse foramen is a narrow foramen which is present laterally on this transverse process. This is the foramen transversarium here. This is the foramen transversarium. This is the transverse process. Now, if we talk about the axis, then like other vertebrae, in case of axis, there are four articular surfaces, two cranial articular surfaces and two caudal articular surfaces. These are the cranial articular surfaces, and these two cranial articular processes uh, are actually involved in articulation with atlas, and these articular processes are modified to form an articular plate around the odontoid process. As you can see, this is the articular process, and it is forming an articular plate around the odontoid process. This is the odontoid process. Similarly, on the caudal side, two articular processes are present, and these articulate with the third cervical vertebra. These caudal articular processes are not visible in this picture. The other structure which is present in the axis is intervertebral foramen, which is present here. This is the intervertebral foramen. So it is intervertebral foramen is the opening between adjacent vertebrae for the passage of spinal nerve, and it is formed by the notches which are present on the pedicles. These notches are cranial vertebral notch and caudal vertebral notch. As you can see here, this is the cranial vertebral notch. This is also the cranial vertebral notch. So total there are two cranial vertebral notches and two caudal vertebral notches. Cranial vertebral notch is also called incisura vertebralis cranialis. So these two cranial vertebral notches, and similarly on caudal side, this is the caudal vertebral notch, and it is also known as incisura vertebralis caudalis. So these four notches combinedly form the intervertebral foramen, or they help in the formation of intervertebral foramen. Intervertebral discs, which are present between two adjacent vertebra, is attached with the concave caudal extremity of axis, which is known as extremitus caudalis. And this extremitus caudalis is present here, but it is not visible in this picture. So actually this extremitus caudalis is present at the caudal extremity of axis. So this was all about the anatomy of axis. Thank you.